Hello everyone, welcome to back my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Hollyoaks is set to provide an encouraging update about a reunion between Lucas Hay and Dillon Ray next week. The former couple have had a tumultuous few months, with Lucas finding out that Dillon slept with his sister Lee while he was behind bars and is the father of her baby. While Lucas found it difficult to see a way forward, it looked like the pair were going to get back together as New Year approached. However, Dillon's responsibilities to look after baby James got in the way and scuppered any chance of a reunion this week. Lucas and Dillon put aside their differences to support their friend Frankie after JJ's trial. But when she asked about their relationship, Lucas said he didn't think they could even be friends. In scenes that will air next week, Steve realizes that continuing to push Dillon away isn't working for Lucas, so he and Tony team up to give him some relationship advice. After getting some tips, Lucas decides to prepare a fancy meal for him and Dillon, and Tony is wowed by his impressive cooking skills. Meanwhile, Misbah is annoyed when Dillon doesn't turn up to look after James and she is stuck holding the baby. Dillon meets up with Lucas after receiving a message, but the pair are interrupted by Misbah, who isn't best pleased. Dillon has recently been involved in a sinister plot with Rex, who has been trying to get him hooked on drugs and isolate him from his family. But there is an encouraging update next week, when Rex instead discourages him from taking the illegal substances. After Steve explains to Dillon that Lucas is trying to win him back, Dillon manages to convince his ex to cook for him again during their second attempt at a romantic meal. Dillon tells Lucas that he hopes they can start again with their relationship and move past everything that has happened. The pair are disturbed again by a text from Misbah, but will Lucas and Dillon be able to give love a chance? The sun cast long shadows over the cobbled streets of Hollyoaks village, a place where secrets had a way of unearthing themselves and relationships were tested in the fire of adversity. Lucas Hay stood outside the hutch, hands in his pockets, staring at the message on his phone. "We need to talk, meet me by the river 3 Dillon." Lucas hesitated. Dillon Ray's name still carried the weight of complicated emotions: friendship, betrayal, confusion, and the hope of something deeper. It had been months since they had last spoken, months that felt like years. The fallout from their argument still stung, and yet Lucas couldn't ignore the message. He sighed, slid his phone back into his pocket, and headed toward the river. Dillon Ray paced the bank of the Dee, fidgeting with the bracelet on his wrist. It was a simple leather strap Lucas had given him during a summer they once described as theirs. That summer felt like a lifetime ago now. Dillon had replayed their last argument in his head 1,000 times, each iteration adding to his regret. "I shouldn't have walked away," he muttered to himself. "I should have fought for us." Dillon looked up as Lucas appeared, his silhouette sharp against the bright winter sun. The air between them was taut, filled with the kind of tension that only came from unresolved feelings. "You came," Dillon said, his voice catching slightly. Lucas stopped a few feet away, his expression guarded. "You asked me to." Dillon nodded, trying to steady his nerves. "Thanks for coming. I wasn't sure you would." Lucas shrugged. "I almost didn't. What do you want, Dillon?" For a moment, Dillon struggled to find the words. "I've been thinking about everything about us, about what went wrong." Lucas raised an eyebrow. "You mean about how you shut me out, about how you didn't trust me enough to let me help you?" "That's not fair," Dillon said, his voice rising defensively. "You don't understand." "Then make me understand." Lucas interrupted, his frustration boiling over. "You pushed me away when I was the only one who wanted to stand by you. Do you know how that felt?" Dillon's eyes softened, guilt washing over him. "I do, and I hate that I made you feel that way. I wasn't in a good place. Lucas, I thought I was protecting you by keeping my mess away from you, but all I did was hurt you and myself." Lucas crossed his arms, his expression still skeptical. "So why now? Why decide to talk about this after all this time?" Dillon hesitated, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. "Because I'm finally ready to be honest with you, and with myself." He handed the paper to Lucas, who unfolded it and began to read. It was a letter, raw and unpolished, detailing everything Dillon had been through, his struggles with identity, his fears of rejection, and the pain of losing Lucas's friendship. "I wrote this months ago," Dillon said. but I was too scared to give it to you. I didn't think I deserved another chance. Lucas read the letter in silence, his expression softening as he reached the end. He looked up at Dillon, his voice quieter now. This is a lot. I know, Dillon said. And I'm not expecting you to forgive me overnight, I just needed you to know the truth. For a long moment, they stood in silence, the sound of the river filling the space between them. Do you really mean it? Lucas asked finally. About wanting to fix things? Dillon nodded. More than anything, but it's not just about fixing things. I want to start over with you. Lucas took a deep breath, his mind racing. He had spent so long being angry, so long convincing himself that he didn't care anymore. But seeing Dillon now, hearing the vulnerability in his voice, made it impossible to ignore the feelings he had buried. I don't know if we can just pick up where we left off, Lucas said honestly. But maybe we can figure it out together. A tentative smile spread across Dillon's face. I'd like that. Lucas couldn't help but smile back, a flicker of hope igniting in his chest. Me too. As they walked back toward the village, the tension between them began to ease, replaced by the warmth of a rekindled connection. For the first time in months, it felt like they were on the same page, ready to face whatever came next, together. Back in the village, they stopped by the dog for a drink. Hey, Lucas's dad raised an eyebrow when he saw them walk in together. Well, this is a surprise, Steve said, his tone cautious but curious. Lucas glanced at Dillon, then back at his dad. We're working things out. Steve nodded, a small smile playing on his lips. Good, you both deserve a fresh start. As the day turned into evening, Lucas and Dillon found themselves sitting by the fireplace, laughing over old memories and making tentative plans for the future. It wasn't perfect, there were still scars to heal and trust to rebuild, but for the first time in a long time, it felt like they were moving in the right direction. In the ever-dramatic world of Hollyoaks, where twists and turns were the norm, this reunion felt like a rare moment of clarity, a reminder that sometimes even the most fractured relationships could find their way back to something beautiful. And as Lucas and Dillon walked out into the crisp night air, their laughter echoing down the quiet streets, one thing was clear. This was just the beginning of a new chapter. Thanks for watching this video, and please subscribe our Hollyoaks Update YouTube channel for more update news.